Many folks write to Freedom Watch asking us to see if there's a media bias against Congressman Ron Paul. A so-called Super Political Action Committee, Super PAC, dedicated to him is now demanding that CNN bench reporter Dana Bash for, in their view, obvious bias against the Texas congressman. Take a listen.
I'm sure you talk to Republicans who are worried as well, just like I am, that Ron Paul will continue on long into the spring and summer, even further. Even if he runs as a Republican or as an independent, he could really hurt whomever the Republican nominee is, because still nobody thinks, even if he does well here in New Hampshire, that he will ultimately be the nominee.
That he will ultimately be the nominee. Why would a CNN reporter claim she is worried, just as worried as the Republican establishment, about Congressman Paul's candidacy? Jack Hunter joins us now. He's contributing to Senator Jim DeMint's latest book, and he's a spokesperson for Congressman Ron Paul and a regular on the show. Jack, it's a pleasure. Welcome.
Always good to be.
But what is that all about? I mean, she's entitled to her views, but why would a member of the media who should enjoy covering an iconoclast, someone willing to challenge Republican orthodoxy, instead be worried?
Well, and their job is to cover the election as an objective journalist and to talk about what actually happens, not, oh, well, it might be a problem to the eventual nominee. Judge, these people like to cause conflicts, many of these media reporters, and they like to create their own headlines that have nothing to do with the matter at hand, which is the 2012 Republican presidential election. I'm sorry, Dana Bash. Ron Paul is winning, he's doing well, and you're just going to have to report it like everybody else.
Who does the media want to be, if there is such a thing as the media's want, the Republican nominee?
Well, they're attached to the establishment candidates, I think, many a times. I think the media also likes to think of itself as a kingmaker. You know, Ron Paul didn't fit into the media narrative from the beginning, and now that he's actually making headway and doing so well, they really don't know what to do with him.
Is he still being ignored by the media, even though he finished third or second, depending on how you count Iowa, and a clear, strong second in New Hampshire?
Well, I don't think he's being ignored to the degree that he was, but what we're seeing is a media that's used to ignoring Ron Paul, having to cover him and do it sort of willy-nilly. Oh, well, there's that Ron Paul who came in second in New Hampshire and came in with a fifth of the vote in Iowa, and they really don't know how to approach it in sort of an honest journalistic way.
How can Ron Paul tap into the libertarian strain amongst Republicans in South Carolina? And I ask you that with deference to your position. Somehow you're an advisor to both Senator Jim DeMint and Congressman Ron Paul.
Well, I'm a contributor. Jim DeMint has a wonderful new book out called Now or Never, and I was proud to be a contributor to one of the chapters.
Okay.
But yeah, he has said on, I believe, Fox and Friends this morning that the Republican Party better start listening to Ron Paul if it wants to be a majority party. And even more important, the point Senator DeMint made, is if we're going to cut spending, if we're going to do something and turn this country around in a fiscal way in line with what the Tea Party wants, you better listen to Ron Paul. I personally don't see any other candidate in this race who's offering $1 trillion in cuts. Do you?
What? No, not at all. Not at all. You have the other candidates are just a Republican version of big government.
That's
a
right.
little bit more of the same with a slightly different emphasis. I've been saying that for a long time, as have you. What would Ron Paul want or expect to get from whoever the establishment candidate is if the victor is not Congressman Paul?
Well, that's a very good question, and people are speculating. Obviously, going throughout this election, the potential to pick up delegates, to have a lot of influence if he were not to get the nomination. Hopefully he gets the nomination. We turn this country around. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting election and more liberty-minded than it has been in recent years. I'm excited.
Your friend Jim DeMint can turn things around in South Carolina. Jack Hunter, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Cops get